episode number 39 with Carlos and KK. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And Carlos Welch.
I think Mike is sleeping right now. He played the WPT Main Event last night, and I think he bagged chips around 1 o'clock in the morning, then drove all the way back down to San Diego, so he's probably...
hungover.
Yeah, probably. Said he bagged 54 big blinds last night. So, did you see his Twitch about or his tweet about getting back with no markup?
No, I didn't see that. I did see the tweet about him bagging, but I didn't see anything about back. What did he say?
He put up an offer for for 50% of his tournament and with no markup. And so I called my brother, and I thought, the two of us will go in for like 10% of it. And my brother didn't answer his phone, and I thought, well, I'll give Mike a call in the morning, shoot the money over on PayPal. And he said within 15 minutes of his tweet, one guy bought the whole 50%. So I was a day late, $1 short on that one. But now I'm really wishing I would have fired on it faster because he's already bagged chips and he's going on to day 2 tomorrow.
Is this a different backer than his WSOP backer?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Okay.
I didn't ask him. But how about you? How you been?
Pretty good. Just grinding online, a little bit live, but nothing big recently.
Right on. Did you grind yesterday?
I played live yesterday. I played I usually play a 1-2 cash game on Saturday nights. So
okay.
I don't play online at all on Saturdays.
Okay. Yeah, I played a little bit, not a little bit. I played 10 hours yesterday online, and I got out of 15 tournaments, I got a 3rd and a 5th place finish.
Nice.
And it was a profitable day. I think I won like $350, but man, you got to close those things out. I mean, maybe it's just variance, but it seems like the last half a dozen final tables I've been at, I haven't gotten better than 3rd. It's like the bankroll's just kind of flatlining for the month. I haven't had any big spikes. I gotta close those things out.
Yeah. Heads up is probably the weakest part of my game. But look, let me ask you this, Steve, because I haven't played, like I said, I play live on Saturdays, so I haven't played on Saturdays online in a while. Are the Saturday schedules more like a Sunday or more like a weekday?
They're better than a weekday, but not nearly as good as a Sunday.
Gotcha.
So it's definitely better, but it's not it's not a Sunday by any means. It's probably about if a weekday on a scale of 1 to 10 is like a 4 and a Sunday is a 10, then a Saturday is like a 6 or 7.
Gotcha.
So if you can do your cash game, and maybe it only goes on Saturdays, but if you could do it during the week and then play every Saturday and Sunday, it would definitely be better. But
yeah, because I actually can do that. The cash game I play in runs on Tuesdays and Sundays. Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I always play on Saturday because the guy gets like the UFC fights.
Okay.
But on the days where there's not a fight, I should probably just play that on Tuesday and grind online Saturday.
I would, yeah, for sure. It's definitely better than a weekday.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But we got a listener who has a couple of hands. I've got his hands pulled up on a replayer. Should we give him a call? His name's KK.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, let's do it.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, KK.
How are you guys? Carlos?
Great. Great, KK.
Good.
Good to meet you.
Honor to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
I think Mike's still sleeping. He was playing the WPT Main Event last night, so we got Carlos with us.
No problem, and always a good substitute.
Sweet.
Yes. So how'd you get into poker, KK?
Besides the whole moneymaker deal, it was kind of like a thing where we would have a fight night, like with my families, and, you know, we would always get together and play poker, at least like a 1 or a 2 table type sit and go type thing. And after a few times of playing those, I got really good and started winning a lot. Then I became of age to go play live, and then started going there, and which is like this place in Livermore. It's called Livermore Casino up in Northern Cal, and we would go there. I struggled for a little bit, and then I got to the point where I could pretty much come up with the cash or a victory like every 2 or 3 out of 5 times I was there. So, you know, a quick $1,000-$1,200 was pretty good, and then started working my way into HPT satellites and my first Vegas trip last year, and then started grinding online and found TPE around January or February of last year, just searching through podcasts pretty much randomly, and then started listening, started figuring out online was pretty important, and here I am.
Cool. Now, I used to have a fight night with my family, but it didn't involve cards. What was this? You call it a fight night?
Well, because, like, you know, for a while back before UFC, about 5 or 6 years ago, like, there was good boxing fights every about month or every month or 2 or so. And, you know, and our family is big on fighting because I come from a martial arts family. And yeah, we would all get together, watch the fight, have a bunch of food, and then the guys would go into the garage or whatever room they had the table set up in, and we'd go play for 3-4 hours.
Okay. See, my family just used to get together and argue and, like, fight physically with each other. But I do something similar to what you're talking about. I do something similar to that on Saturdays when the UFC events come around.
Right.
Also, you mentioned HPT satellites. You play those live, or is that something you can do online?
I've done a couple of them live so far. Like, I've done the one at when they had it. I don't think they had it this year, but they had it a couple years ago at the Stratosphere.
Mm-hmm.
They had one there. They have them usually in Grand Sierra, or I think it's Grand Sierra and Reno, because those are relatively close to me. And then was supposed to go. Table? What's that?
Are these single table satellites?
No, they're multi-table. They're like they're Vegas.
Gotcha.
Right. And the first one I played, I felt like I did pretty good. I thought I was going to be all nervous, you know, typical, you know, first big, you know, in Vegas. And then came up 3 seats short, and I got sucked out on. I lost aces versus Jack 10, 3 seats away. So.
Bummer.
And you know, figured I might as well keep trying. You know, didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
No, not at all. 80% favorite or whatever that is.
Yeah, that one hurt. That's for sure.
Well, we got your hands up here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay, the first one I figured there was a mistake when you sent the one where you open folded 10-2 offsuit to an under the gun raise. I didn't think.
I was having an issue yesterday where I was going through my reports, and every time I was double click a couple times to click too fast through the hand replayer, it would give me the whole not responding deal.
Yeah.
That's a hand Mike would have played.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, right here. Okay, so here's the first hand. You've got fairly early on in the tournament. The blinds are 60-120. We've got some antes in there. There's the total pot is 288, and you're in the cutoff.
Right.
It folds around to the hijack, and the hijack limps for 120.
Right.
So blinds are 60-120. The hijack limps for 120, and you're in the cutoff with ace-10 offsuit. What are your thoughts right here with a hand like this? Because the other one's pretty similar to this.
Okay, so yeah, this is kind of like a thing I run into a lot, and I figured I'd get myself in trouble with a lot also. So I noticed, I remember this tournament specifically because this was a day when I didn't go to work and I started grinding really early on and started this day off with a good, decent run. And this guy, especially, I remember him really well, actually, even though I only had so many hands on him. But Sup or whatever, he always likes limping in like middle to late position with, you know, mediocre hands at the least. And he'll do it almost with his full range. So my whole thought is I'm not going to let him see it cheap because he knows he's decent when he comes to post flop, or at least my experience is not the easiest to get him to fold all the time. So.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I think Mike just came on. We're going to add him to the group here. It looks like he just woke up.
That's definitely the face of somebody with a hangover.
Are you there, Mike?
No.
Were you sleeping?
Yeah, just tired. I didn't get home a little after 2.
Yeah. I figured that's.
I usually just went up at like 7 a.m. So just set the alarm. So.
Yeah. So okay, where we're at right now, we just started a hand review with KK. He's got ace 10 offsuit in the cutoff. Blinds are 60, 120, and the hijack limps for 120, and he's in the cutoff with ace 10 offsuit. So, what were you saying about the history of this player?
Well,
KK?
in my sample so far, he's been running 38-10, and I remember on this specific tournament, he was limping quite a lot, and pretty much only raising when he had the absolute top of his range. So, me being with ace 10, I figure I'm always usually decently ahead, or I can have a hand that I can play pretty well post flop with him, and so I decided to isolate. Figured it was pretty standard.
Okay, yeah. When I first saw this, I wasn't too sure, but hearing that history, I like that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, sounds good. What sizing did you use?
I used, so the blinds are 60, 120. I made it 355.
Okay.
Not quite 3x, but.
Right. I would normally go 4x there, but that's gonna be more, based on the guys behind me. I wanna, we're isolating. So I wanna make sure those guys don't, feel compelled to call, like the big blind basically, for the price that he's getting.
Right.
So if the big blind is kind of tight, then I don't mind the smaller sizing. But normally the guys I play with, it's going to take at least 4x to kind of get them out of the pot.
Right.
Yeah. I was thinking the same. I was thinking, like 3.5, make it like, 399 or like 411, something like that. Basically 400.
Okay. So what happens?
I hope Mark doesn't see this. He's going to be jumping off the balcony again. Oh boy. Alioto hears this, I know I'm going to get a Skype message. Like, what did I tell you about your isolation and your out of position 3-bet sizing? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he would say. Yeah, so, the button calls, and then the, hijack calls. So we go to the flop, big blind folds, yeah. Gotcha. So in the pot, on the flop, we've got the hijack cutoff, which is hero, and the button. Total pot is 1,350. Okay? We have the ace of clubs, 10 of hearts, and the flop comes down 9 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 3 of spades. The hijack checks, and now it's on the hero. So with a pot of 1,350, what are you thinking here?
So just keep this in mind. This is probably a tournament from at least 3 or 4 months ago. So, and, or maybe not so much, but I'm thinking still, I don't really see them hitting this too much, especially with the guy limping, because I noticed he did do this with some middle pocket pairs. So pretty much I'm thinking either I have the best hand and they both bricked, or one of them, the only thing I can pretty much see them having is either some type of a straight or a combo draw or maybe a set, but I don't really see them hitting any of those pairs in their range. I feel like I still might have the best hand. And I think
you're going to get your C-bet on.
My
and try to
C-bet
take
in the
it down.
3 people actually looks kind of stronger with these guys, considering I'm playing against a 38-10 and a 24-0.
38-10 and 24-0. Okay.
So
I've only got one hand on these guys in front of me, so I don't know.
And they have a 75 and a 60% fold to C-bet.
Okay.
Who's the 75?
The button.
Okay.
Okay, I have one question for.
Yes,
What
go
the
ahead.
hell is Carlos doing on my show, uninvited?
I'm here to.
I mean, I apologize, Steve. Okay, I screwed up one time, and now I am my second team. Do I need permission to be here? I mean, what's going on?
You're fired, Mike. Sorry.
Okay, you know what? That's fine. Thank you for jumping into the lurch here.
You know,
What were the starting stacks? That's the one part I didn't catch here.
Oh, yeah, you know what? You're right. I didn't mention that. The starting stack of the hijack is 39 big blinds. Hero has 114, and the button has 87 bigs.
Okay.
I'm check giving up here.
Are you?
Yeah, because one thing KK said was that they have a lot of the limper, the first limper. I don't know if this also applies to the button, but they have a lot of medium pairs in their range. So something like 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, something like that. Those either made a set or they may appear in some type of draw, or some, like if it's in the case of 10s, which we blocked, it's an overpair. So if we're putting them on middle pairs, this is a bad flop for us to continue on. Also, a lot of club draws. Diamonds.
Diamond.
There's 2 diamonds on the flight. So you got diamond, and if they're thinking at all, they're probably putting you on big cards for raising, so they know that this doesn't hit you also. And being out of position to the button. Even though he does have a high fold to C-bet, I would like to know, and this is hard to tell from the HUD, is he folding to C-bets out of position? Is he folding to C-bets in position as often as he's folding to C-bets out of position? Like, there's a lot of people, if they were out of position in his spot, they would fold more often to a C-bet, but very few people flat pre-flop in position just to fold to the C-bet. So, I think a lot of times the button at least is going to call, and we have no back doors. I guess we do have a backdoor straight draw with the 10, and an over. So, I mean, I really don't hate a C-bet, but I'm probably, not gonna go too much further in this hand, especially with the, original limper stack size. Like, we could easily get into a spot where he's feeling committed to the pot. Like, if he continues on the flop in the turn, I think it's going to be hard to get him off on the river.
Right.
So, like, if I had a diamond, like a 10 of diamonds or even an ace of diamond, I would like to see that more, way more.
That's what I was going to say. If you had the ace of diamonds here, or maybe even the 10 of diamonds, I would like this a lot more, because then it gives you the backdoor flush. But after you said those stats with, how they're both folding to C-bet so often, I'm kind of thinking one and done here.
Right. That was
unless you turn an ace or something, or
I could try to fire one bullet, and if I get 1 or 2 callers, then I'm just, and especially if I don't improve in any set type of way after the flop, then I'm just going to pretty much give up.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I wouldn't C-bet unless I was willing to double barrel a lot of turn cards, because there is like almost any jack, queen, or king in addition to the ace or 10 is a good turn card for you against their against their calling range. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be floating with like Broadway cards.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm saying, like, even if you don't get the ace or the 10, the king or the queen's real good too.
Right.
Because if they're really bad, they're almost never floating. Like if they're calling here that says it.
Unless their Broadway cards contain diamonds.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think Carlos is probably right. I'm just saying, there are turn cards that are good other than the ace and the straight draw in terms of their calling range. But I don't know if if I was going to see a bet, I'd be of the mind of like, I already want to know which cards I'm going to double barrel. And, but I think Carlos is probably right. You got this many chips, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Okay. You're sizing on your C bet. There's $13.50 in the pot, and you bet $4.99. So you basically bet $500. I kind of like that sizing. What do you guys think? If you're gonna C bet.
On the one hand, I would say that I like smaller sizing on more drier boards. This is a pretty dynamic board, and normally on dynamic boards, I'm going to look to bet bigger. But if your plan is to just kind of, stab out there, you're kind of giving yourself a real good price on the bluff. But I don't think you're going to get a ton of folds with that sizing. But if all you're doing is just stabbing as a bluff, you don't really need a ton of folds. You're just trying to get them to fold the very bottom of their range. But if somebody had something like even Broadway cards with one diamond, I could maybe see them continuing to this sizing, whereas they may let that go to a bigger sizing, especially the first guy, because he'll see that you're putting enough chips in to basically eventually by the river put his stack into play. Like right here, he could probably feel pretty comfortable calling this and not feeling committed yet.
Right. Now, is that sizing even a little too small, even if that's like about where my sizing is, where I'm trying to bet for value after hitting the flop or having like a pocket pair to this flop where I'm betting in strength?
Yeah, like if I have a pocket pair here, I'm definitely betting. This is, what is it, like a little bit of like 40% of the pot or something, a little bit under 40?
Yeah, about 40.
Yeah, a little more than a third.
Yeah, I'm definitely betting bigger than this because the board is, it's a pretty wet board. Like, well, I'll use the word dynamic, not bet, not wet. So like basically the nuts on this board, on this flop is going to change very often. So like you said with an overpair, like say if you have queens or something here, there's a ton of straight cards that could come, or flush cards that can come, or over cards that could come. That's going to devalue a hand like jacks or queens. So I want to get more money in early with a hand like that.
That's a good point. If I had jacks here, I would bet like 7-7-7.
Right. I would like this sizing if the flop was like king 7 deuce rainbow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good point.
In terms of the possibility of double barreling, though, if you were to then, if you get called and then the turn, if we got one of those cards you liked and then you bet big, like 60-70% of pot, to the fish, it's like, oh, that small bet, he was trying to reel me in there. He's got a big hand. That's a line I'll take both with big hands and crap hands. It's usually very polarized. It's never like a one pair hand. I'll like C-bet 25-30%, and then on the turn, I'll bet 80-90%. I don't know if you've ever done that. I don't know if that's that's my own little.
I don't know about 90,
trick.
but like 3/4, yeah. No, I like that line though. That's
when you're, So I just love shoving chips in the pot. Well, Carlos, you were playing with me the other day. You saw me. I love the overbet in the river. I did that like 3 times.
Yeah, I did recall one. And you got it paid off. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I definitely like, just in a vacuum, I like, the bigger turn bet. But again, like on the flop, I don't know, like, I guess that would be committing too many chips if you made like a half pot bet on the flop and then did that big turn bet. You're getting to the point of being committed against that other guy. So I guess if that's your plan to go small and then go big, then I can kind of see the value in going small.
I think my original planning was to go a little bit smaller as a bluff, and that way, in case I'm dominated and then I do hit on the turn, the pot isn't so bloated, and then I feel like if this guy, for example, if he had like a set of 7s, I stab, he smooth calls like he would. Like normally most people would, and then I spike the ace on the turn, and then I'm more so in a committed spot because look, it's 4, he's going to have pretty much a shove size bet on the river by that point, So I wanted to kind of keep the pot smaller in case I got myself into trouble.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, you bet, there's $13.50 in the pot. You basically bet 500. The button folds, which is great.
Yeah.
Then the hijack, calls. So we go to the turn. There's
2248.
23.50 in the, pot. If your math was, perfect, Mike, if I had told the exact amounts instead of, rounding them up. There's 23.51 in the pot. The turn is the 8 of hearts. So again, we've got ace of clubs, 10 of hearts, and the board is 9 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 3 of spades, 8 of hearts. So we turned an open-ender, and the hijack...
Wait, I think you said it was an 8. I thought you said ace. Sorry.
Oh, 8, yeah, 8. So we turned an
open-ender. What's the
open-ender.
SPR? How many chips left does the villain have here?
Okay, the pot is 23.51, and villain has 38.70. Villain checks, and it's on hero.
Yeah. See, this was kind of like the exact card that I was kind of hoping for, but kind of dreading, because now I'm
right.
pretty much have to go to the river. So it was kind of like a blessing, but a curse at the same time, in my point of view.
So in this spot, you need to ask yourself, what range do you have the guy on? So we initially said medium pass, a middling pass. What else would you put in his range for?
Weak suited aces, I definitely say is in his range, because earlier I saw him with really premiums. He would also try to limp and then 3-bet pre-flop with his monsters and try to set the trap nice and early. I'd say anywhere from like maybe King 10 to like King Jack range he could have in his range.
Well, my question is more geared towards his range at this point after calling the flop bet.
I could see him having, I mean, he could have a set. He could have a draw. He could have a straight draw, which could potentially have been completed, which I don't really see him. Because I feel like he wouldn't. Don't you feel like this guy being out of position, if he had just a straight draw with no diamonds, he would have raised the flop, right? Or that's my thinking, at least. How do you guys feel about that?
10-8 or something, or
like say if he had 6-8 or 10-8 of no diamonds on the flop.
Didn't you say he was like a 38-10 or something?
Yeah, that was my first thought.
So I think it sounds like a passive guy who just wants to hit his hand.
Right.
Not someone who's probably going to be real assertive with his draws. But it's always hard to say.
So, like I said, this is one of those, it's a good card, but it's one of those cards that's also, again, it's going to pretty much make me go to the end. And now, I'm kind of not liking my play on this, well, I'll let you guys go ahead and finish out the action.
Well, if you bet here, you're not committed to calling a shove. You wouldn't be getting the right price. If you bet 10-3 and he shoves.
At 90% you are.
I'm sorry?
I said if you bet 90% you are.
Oh, yeah.
So that plan's out now.
I almost like checking behind and then raising his river bet.
Yeah, I kind of like a check behind to just see if you can hit.
Yeah, that's my thinking now too.
Yeah, I also like a check behind because it does complete a lot of the straight draws he was calling with, and if not even complete them, maybe like he picks up like a pair with his straight draw or something now, and so like he could have like 10-9 or something like that, and he's not going anywhere. So I definitely like a check back also. But I'm curious more so on Mike's reasoning for raising any river bet.
Well, if he has a one pair hand, he's probably going to think it's good on the river. And again, if it's an overcard, I'm sorry.
Right.
If it's like any overcard, and it would depend on his bet sizing. If it looked like he didn't want to call, or if he bet.
Okay. Like if a queen comes and he bets out third pot or something, you're just going to shove it in?
If he bets 60% more a pot, I mean, I'm probably folding. For some reason, I do like the check back here because I do think you're getting shoved on fair amount of time.
So you're saying if he leads out small on the turn after we check back on the river after we check back the turn, the jam over the top on the river?
I don't, against this villain, I just think, they're usually not, if this guy is pretty bad, they're usually not betting small, saying, well, I just want to get a little value from this hand.
Right.
They're betting small because they don't want to call a bigger bet. Or maybe, hey, maybe I missed my draw, I can steal it. I don't know. I mean,
so he's never betting to induce here, or say if we check back the turn, he's never betting small on the river to induce and have us do exactly what we're doing, right?
It's possible. I'm just saying it's hard to get a big hand in poker. You guys are saying, well, he could now have 2 pair, he could have a set. Some of the, I mean, like more often than not, someone has 1 pair other than those other combinations of hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and a lot of, I don't know. And a lot of people just won't call bets with 1 pair. I don't know, but I think these guys have it right, probably.
No. I think he definitely has a 1 pair hand. Otherwise, he would not check the turn. But I just don't think he's folding the 1 pair hand if we bet here, because a lot of those 1 pair hands also have straight draws with them. Now, so that's why I kind of wanted to get your thinking, because on the river, I like the point about raising the river based on sizing. Like at this point, we have very little fold equity to whatever we do. But on the river, we can maybe get some fold equity if all he has is that 1 pair and all his straight or flush draws brick out. So I kind of like that line that Mike said.
Okay.
Although if he, let's get to the river when he's done. I was going to say though, if we check here and he checks the river, I think you got to check behind every time. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it'll be very similar to the turn, basically. Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Okay, so villain checks. Hero bets 1567. Okay, so the pot is 2351. Hero bets 1567. And villain calls. So now we go to the river. The pot is 5485. Villain has 2303. The river is the 7 of hearts. So the final board is 9 of diamonds, 7 of diamonds, 3 of spades, 8 of hearts, 7 of hearts. And hero has ace of clubs, 10 of hearts for a busted draw, and ace high. And villain shoves. So there's nothing to do there but fold. I think on the flop, I kind of like your one and done. I like it a lot more if you had the ace of diamonds.
Right.
But I like I think all three of us agree we like a check back on the turn.
Yeah. That makes more sense.
Just because, like Mike was saying, he's just going to call with all his 1 pairs,
Right.
And
so with his shove on the river, what are you guys ranging him on there? I mean, obviously we're never calling, but he doesn't.
I think he's got a pair. Maybe a 7.
I mean,
he could have a boat. Maybe he had pocket 3s. That would make a lot of sense.
You don't think he would try to check a boat and try to let me fire again? Maybe.
He could.
A lot of bad players won't do that. And I know that because several times I have shoved the boat on the river and not gotten a call and then kicked myself like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, it makes perfect sense to do it. But especially with the amount of chips left, it's almost like a lot of times guys would feel like you have to call for that small amount and they don't want to check and allow you to, check back, a 1 pair hand or something. So I think it would definitely be smart to check a boat on the river, but I don't think a lot of bad players would do it.
Especially not a 38-10.
Right. And as far as ranging this guy on the river, he could still have, this is what I was saying earlier, with the stack sizes, this guy is eventually going to get committed on the river, so he could still have like a 1 pair hand on the river, and once he calls a turn and he sees how much is in there and how much he has left, he figure he's committed anyway, so he could just shove that. Basically what I'm saying is I don't think he necessarily has to have a big hand to shove this river.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the type to shove busted draws there. It feels a lot like a marginal hand because you would think, again, like a passive guy is not going to shove busted draws, and a passive guy, if he had a bigger hand, I doubt he would have gotten to this point without putting, like if he had a set on the flop. I don't think he's checking the turn to you. So I can't think of very many big hands that he could even show up with on the river, given that he didn't bet the turn.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of guys, if they had a big hand, they would check shove the turn. So,
but we do not have much of a bluff catcher, obviously. I mean, he could have pocket threes here and we still lose.
Right. Yeah, we're not
so
thinking
it's
about.
Not like, I mean, he might have like a jack queen of diamonds or something, but basically, obviously, we got to fold.
Yeah, there's almost nothing you're beating. I mean, jack 10 of diamonds, jack queen of diamonds, king queen of diamonds, like those are all bluffs that you do beat, but
I don't think
how many pocket fours, like Mike said, could be a bluff here and you can't even beat that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking about calling. He's just curious about the guy's hand at this point.
Right. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm just
So on that line, if he checks here, just say hypothetically, if he was to check here, are we always checking behind, just kind of trying to take it to showdown and see if he maybe has a king queen of diamonds or a jack, a jack eight of diamonds, or not a jack eight of diamonds, like some other busted draw? Are we firing here on if he checks?
No,
in this situation?
No, I don't think, not against a passive player like that. He'll call you with 9-10.
Okay.
He'll call you with 10-8 where, he turned a pair and missed his draw, but he still has a pair of, he sounds like a calling station.
Yeah.
And, these are guys that'll hero call you down with ace-3 of diamonds with the pair of threes, like, they don't like to lay down pairs.
A lot of regs.
Exactly.
Right.
Gotta love him.
Yes.
Although I want to quickly point out, just so I don't sound like an idiot here, because it almost sounds like he followed my advice of bet small, bet big, is that I wanted to do that with like all the Broadway cards, to bet big, make it look like the turn was gin, but check behind with like the cards that this one because it actually built up equity. But anyways, I'm half asleep still and just being defensive.
No.
I still say bet small, bet big with air is a decent line sometimes, as long as you have like, specific cards where, Anyways. A diamond too would not have been a bad card to bet big here, because like I said, he's got more pairs than draws, I think, there.
Right.
Do you guys want to hear a couple of hands from yesterday, or
yeah.
Or how are we doing here? Or does KK have another hand? I'm not trying to.
We got
Okay,
one more.
okay.
Hey, Mike, you're a guest on this show. Don't butt in.
Okay.
A fucking man can own a Chrysler now and think he's freaking president of the United States, passing people around.
Hey, it's a Chrysler town and country, okay?
Oh, okay.
That's right. Yeah. I get so offended when people call it a Dodge Caravan.
Oh, man.
Okay. Next hand is pretty similar to the last one in a sense. Blinds are 60-120, same level, and hero's in the cutoff, and hijack calls. So the hijack stack is 45 bigs. Hero's stack is 44, and hero has ace-8 of clubs. So the total pot right now is 408, and with the hijack calling, and you're in the cutoff. What do you have any reads on the hijack, KK?
It's pretty much the same kind of thing. This guy likes to limp a lot. I have him at 26-11, but he's also a fairly aggressive player pre-flop. So when he does raise, I have him at 100% C-bet, and he's never folding to flop C-bets either, and he's a 26-11 who has a 3-bet percentage of 6.8, so, yeah. So.
Okay.
I don't know if this is just the type of people you find on Merge early in the morning or whatnot.
Okay.
What was our sizing this time? Same?
Roughly about this.
It's
roughly.
$2.99. So there's 408 in the pot. Hero 3 bets to $2.99.
Oh, this is a 3 bet. Okay, I'm thinking this.
It's a squeeze.
Oh, I'm sorry, not a 3 bet, a raise because hijack limp.
And what's the so how many big blinds is the raise?
2.7.
Like 3.5 again?
No.
No, that would be 2.5, something like that. 2.6.
Yeah. You got to work on that, man. Because you're not.
Yeah.
The isolating sizing is really small.
Yeah.
All right, so gotcha. So the guy limps, we make it 2.8, and what happens after that?
Then small big blind fold, villain calls. So we both basically, what's that?
Button folded.
Button folded, small blind folded, big blind folded, and the hijack called. So heads up to the flop. The pot is 886. And again, hero has ace of clubs, 8 of clubs.
Okay.
Okay, the flop is 2 of diamonds, ace of spades, 9 of diamonds. Just quickly, are we ever just calling there in the cutoff with ace 8 of clubs, or do you guys like raising every time?
I'm probably raising every time unless I view that limp as suspicious. But because this guy's 26-11, he limps a ton of hands there. If he was like 26-25, I would probably just limp behind.
Okay. My first thought when I saw this, and I know the results now, but before I knew what happened at the end, I remember something that Mark and I were working on, and he said, you need to develop a cutoff and a button limping range. And there was a few hands like this that came up, and he said, see, now when you're raising here, you're only getting him to call with better. And the same random synapse fired when I saw this, and I thought, I think when you're raising here, he's only calling, like, let's say you did raise to 3.5 or 4x instead of 2.6. When you get called, I think you're behind more often than you're not. So that's just a random thought. But, okay, so the flop is 2 of diamonds, ace of spades, 9 of diamonds, and hero has ace 8 of clubs. And villain checks. So we flop top pair. Pot is 886. What are you guys thinking here?
I would probably, we said this guy, did you say he was aggressive post-flop?
He seems to be aggressive post-flop because he seems to be pretty aggressive and somewhat sticky at the same time. So when he's the one who's raising, he's always firing, and then he's never really folding to a flop c-bet, at least not on my stats. He's 100, 100 in both of those.
Okay.
Okay.
If he's never folding to a flop c-bet, and I don't think he's aggressive in that he would raise the flop as a bluff, if those two things are true, I'm probably betting flop and maybe, depending on what the turn is, maybe checking that back and calling a river bet. That would be my default line here.
Okay. Yeah, I like a c-bet here of, like half pot, which is pretty much exactly what you bet. You bet 4-4-4. Just because if he's always calling, then
might as well.
I got top pair.
Yeah.
I want to get the money in the pot.
Yeah. Tons of broadways, tons of pairs, and he doesn't sound like the type that would fold like king queen off with the king of diamonds.
Yeah.
So if he's calling with that, I'm gonna get value on this flop.
Yep.
Exactly.
Me too. Okay. Hero bets half pot, villain calls. So we go to the turn. There's 1,774 in the pot, and the turn is the 6 of spades. So the board is 2 of diamonds, ace of spades, 9 of diamonds, 6 of spades.
How much is left in the villain stack?
Villain has 4,600 left in his
He's
stack,
got me covered.
and there's 17. Yeah,
Slightly. He's
What's
got
that?
me covered slightly too.
by like half a big line. Yeah.
So we're effective all the way almost.
Yep. So villain checks.
I'm checking behind almost every time for pot control here.
Me too. Yeah.
Just in case he's got a bigger ace. I mean, unless he's just a total nit, you're not blowing him off. Ace 10, ace jack. You know what I mean? Obviously not ace queen or ace king.
Yeah.
Where were you guys when I played this tournament?
and checking behind makes a lot of sense because we know, like Mike said, he does have better aces in his range. And on top of that, we have established that he's aggressive post flop, so he's very likely to bluff this river.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like checking behind as well. Just to
I will add, I don't know if this is relevant at this point, but I think a lot of the history that I have on this guy was going, or actually, no, wait, never mind. Steve knows how this hand finishes. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to say I didn't think his stats were up to date. I thought he ran the rest of the tournament with me, but nope, never mind. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Hero bets into 1774. Hero bets 1088, and villain ships for 4651.
You got to fold, I think.
So we're always folding on a standard line here.
I think probably. Are there two flush draws out there or one?
There's two.
There's two.
That kind of sucks.
No real straight draws. We don't really block anything.
But we don't. Are we still thinking that we do block higher ace pairs because we do have the ace pair blocker?
Right. Yeah. I'm thinking in terms of bluffs in his range.
Oh, okay, right.
Like for example, if we had two spades, obviously we're calling if we got two spades, but if we had some of the cards that he could be bluffing with, that's what I'm thinking along those lines. So we're not blocking any of the cards he could be bluffing with, but I'm thinking if he was going to bluff
like
diamonds,
8-7 of diamonds or something like that.
right? So
we're not blocking that.
One straight draw on the turn, but I don't know. I feel like maybe this is the type of guy that would get in diamonds on the flop. So if he's bluffing here, to me, he's got to have exactly spades. Because, well, I ask you, KK, do you think he would, check raise on the flop with diamonds?
I do think he would, yes.
Right. And so, other than 8-7 of spades, like that's like one very specific combo that kind of makes sense. Well, even that doesn't make sense. Like, why would he call the flop with that? Yeah, I don't think he has a lot of bluffs in his range at this point.
Yeah. I almost think you kind of have to call here just because I really like checking back the turn. But as played, there's 73, almost 7,400 in the pot. It's 34 to call.
Yeah,
man.
I'm pretty sure I went into the tank on this one for sure.
Yeah.
I have a rule for myself that is not, I'm not saying this is a good rule, but in my mind, in spots like this, I tell myself I'm either going to check call or bet fold. I'm never going to combine the two into a bet call. Because I get in a lot of trouble when I bet call with marginal hands. So to me, either bet folding and also check calling are valid lines, but when you bet call, a lot of times it doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's a good point. Yeah,
if you fold, you don't get to see the guy's hand. That's the problem I have. I want to know what this bastard has here.
So
you get to see it. You get to see it. This is Bovada. You get to see it 24 hours later.
Ooh, I forgot about that. I got to figure out.
Actually, this is merge, I think, still.
Okay.
Oh, merge just call because it's play money anyway.
Maybe if you bet something like on the turn, if you bet like 800 instead of 1,000, then it's a lot easier to bet fold, like Carlos was saying. That could be an option.
Well, another thing about that is a lot of times I'm more likely to bet fold if I make this bigger sizing because I feel like it's made him more honest. A small bet, I would be worried that I kind of induced the bluff from him.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Either way, you probably should have a plan here, though. Whether it's a bet fold or a bet call prior to putting chips in, obviously.
Yeah, I think my plan went out the window when he decided to jam the river or jam the turn. So, no disrespect, Mike, but I didn't see this one coming at all. I thought he was kind of string me along and try to maybe do something tricky on the river, but I didn't see him doing this on the turn.
You were trying to get value from a draw or the pocket tens.
That's another argument, obviously, for checking behind on the turn is that he is aggressive and he will bet his busted draws on the river.
So we should always be trying to check behind and never trying to protect our hand against the double. Now we have a double flush draw and a potential 2 straight draws out there on the river because he's never folding to any bet. Is that what our line is at this point, or it should be?
I'm always checking, and it's not to protect my hand, it's to induce bluffs because your hand is really not that strong to where it's worth protecting anyway. And in fact, you really can't protect it. Like, if you bet, if he has those draws, he's not going anywhere anyway. So, that's kind of like a myth in my mind, the idea of protecting our hand from draws, because it's not like when you bet they're going to fold or draw.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, villain shoves, hero goes into the tank, finally calls, and what do you guys think he had?
He might have had a worse ace too, and picked up some sort of straight draw.
Some type of ace, or he's on I can't see this guy doing this with diamonds.
There's a lot of draws he's doing that with, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he had ace king of diamonds, which surprised the hell out of me. I thought for sure on the flop you'd get
you know what,
check raised on that, but maybe his hand was so strong he just
why would he check raise there?
Yeah, when I was thinking diamonds earlier, I was thinking more so as a bluff, but that's the one. Ace X of diamonds is the one hand where his line doesn't make sense because he wants to get that turn bet in also.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But luckily, the river comes a 8 of spades and hero doubles up.
Nice.
Leaving villain with 1 big blind.
So he called a raise with ace king of diamonds.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hence why I brought this hand up, because I have that come up all the time, and it just frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So
I still haven't figured out the new why limping is back thing. I'm sort of, so not that we can get it, not that we need to get into it here, but yeah, I'm always raising ace king there. And there's still, and if there's still a chance you're going to get raised. You know what I mean? Let's build the pot. Go ahead, raise me up. Obviously,
Yeah. I have tried limping in that Mark video with him saying the limp is back, and I have tried a couple little spots, like with kind of small pairs and stuff like that, limping in middle position like people used to do 5 or 6 years ago. And but one spot that I've really found that I think is profitable is the small blind. When it folds to you in the small blind, and you limp, the big blind checks behind, and then you min bet every flop. And I don't know if this is variance or if I'm actually freaking onto something here, because I'm looking at my overall stats by position. In the small blind, I went from losing to now I'm winning 1.7 big blinds per 100. And that's the only thing I've changed, is I kind of pay attention to that dynamic. So the pattern will start is I'll limp, he'll check, I'll bet any flop. And I continue to do that regardless of my hand, every time until he plays back at me. Then once he plays back at me, I change the pattern a little bit. But starting out just with that pattern, I've gone from losing in the small blind to winning. And I don't know, like I said, if that's just variance. Maybe I hit a couple of big hands, and that's from the small blind, and that's why I'm actually plus EV in the small blind now. But I'm going to keep doing it until until it stops working. But it seems to be working more often than not.
Yeah, I basically do that. If the big blind is a tight player who folds a lot to the raise, then I'll raise. But if he's going to defend a lot, I always limp.
Yeah. Okay. And then do you c-bet every flop?
Yeah.
From that?
Yeah,
or?
pretty much. Because the pot is so small at that point that, I'm able to get a pretty good price on my bluffs. And, his range is basically capped, which makes bluffing a lot better. So yeah, I always, that's something that I used to do in, sit and goes back when I played those. We call it a limp lead. So it's limp lead every flop.
Yeah. Okay.
And that even applies, Carlos, as a donk lead in certain situations. You just limp, and then if your first act, just go ahead and bet it out on the flop.
That's something I've been doing a lot lately, after watching videos from Assassinato. And it does tend to work a lot. I'll do a lot of donk leading. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, tell us about your WPT main event, Mike. I just missed. I shouldn't say just missed. That one guy snagged it up in 15 minutes. Back at you, but my brother and I were going to get 10% together.
Nice.
But I was a day late and $1 short. I shouldn't have.
Now I'm really motivated to cash this thing, Steve.
No, you should ship this fucking thing now just to throw it in my face.
Yeah, I mean I bagged. This is at the Bike in LA.
Okay, nice.
And $3,700 buy-in. And the whole narrative. I was down to I gave away half my stack early. I mean, kind of unlucky. I flopped top 2 pair. But first of all, I had like a ridiculous table. I seem to be running into those all the time. But I was playing against that Kelly Minkin, who's like, went deep in the main event. She's kind of the new female superstar. But she hit her gutter ball on me, but like really overbet the river. And it's one of those hands I need to get away from. I had top.
How'd it go down?
I can't even. The 2 hands. I have 2 hands to discuss here, but I'm just the quick narrative. I lost like half my stack early, and then it was just like a slow build. Then I got set over set. I had 10s against the other players' 9s, which got me a nice stack, and I kept building, and I had it up to, I think, without a lot of big hands. Like I defended my blind with 2-3, and it would hit 2 pair, that kind of stuff. I think I had it up to 115K, and then I doubled up with like 3 shorties at the end of the night. I was opening a lot of pots, which is, I opened with 10-8 and had to call a shove. The guy had 9 big blinds. He had ace-jack and held, and a couple of those. A couple times I did get it in good too, but So anyways, I bagged. Now I can't remember. I want to say 65,000, and I think the average, which is we're coming back to 600, 1,200, so 54 bigs.
That's a good stack,
the average stack is I think 72K, so 60 bigs, and the structures of these things are ridiculous. I mean, this thing's this tournament, so it's I want to say we're coming back to 90-minute levels.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So
that's almost like the main event. Jesus.
Yeah. So basically,
cool.
You got really short, and then you went on a rampage.
Rampage Schneiderman did it. Yes. it was good. I mean, there is a couple typical high wire act hands, which afterwards I said, "What the hell was I doing there?" Although sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But quickly, I got a couple hands. If you want me to do them.
Yeah, let's do it.
The blinds are 250, 500. And I have 51K in the big blind. And by the way, my big blind defense yesterday was probably like 80% plus. You know what I mean? I just was not folding it. And the villain in this hand is has 28K, and he's UTG +2. young Asian kid. They just had $1 million tournament there the other day, and it's funny, I walked by the final table and saw he was there. So I asked him, he said, I got fourth, which was probably like $75K plus. He's a pro, for sure. He's really good. Or an accountant who's really good at poker, kind of thing, obviously. So he raises to 1,100, which is kind of standard at this table, I guess. Or, well, I don't know. I was usually raising 1,300 at this level. And I have, it folds all the way around to me, and I have Jack 10 off.
Okay.
And the blind is 500 at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got 100 bigs.
God mode.
Yes. I don't see anything to do but call.
Yeah. Calling's pretty basic, I think. So I call, and there is, let's see, I think I have 2850 written here, but let me see, 2200 plus the small blind, 2450 plus there's 8 players, another 400, 2850. And the flop is King 7-7 Rainbow.
Okay. I'm guessing you didn't check give up.
This is Rampage Snyderman.
Is this Roses?
This is
Mike Ship and Snyderman.
Excellent observation.
Okay.
Okay, what happened?
I check.
Okay.
He bets 1,300. Now, Carlos, what's your raise size here?
This is actually, I was going to say this is actually not a bad spot to raise because of your back doors, and he's going to see bet this flop regardless, but under the gun range is pretty strong, and if he's a good player, he knows that, his range on this board is way stronger than yours. So even if he doesn't have it, I doubt he's going to believe you. So, I don't hate a call, but I'm not raising here. If the flop was
I was thinking a call and then lead any turn.
Yeah.
Like a call like you've got a 7, or a king and then lead any turn. If I was going to play this, that's how I would play it. Is I would call here and then just lead like maybe 60% on the turn.
What's my raise sizes?
Yeah, this is probably like you said, he's probably not going to believe me. I thought it was probably a bad raise for several reasons. At the time, I'm like, I've defended the blind quite a bit, but I haven't raised the blind once, like this. So I'm breaking the rhythm. Like I'd 3-bet a lot, especially late in position against the middle position thing, and then I would call and float and either give up on the second barrel or steal it on the turn. But I had not done a check raise. That I'm sure of. So I don't know if that's relevant, but. Of course, to this player, just the fact that I'm active in 3-betting and in a lot of pots probably means that the check raise with crap is in my repertoire.
Yeah.
And
he's good enough.
Let me ask you this: Are you check raising there with 7-6?
Yeah.
You are?
Sometimes.
I mean, really, you have 7-6 here,
well,
and
no,
probably King 7-7, and
probably not. But my set over set, I raised with that. Not that I put him on a strong range. Well, that was a multi-way pot too, but just because I've been active, you know what I mean? 'Cause I'm in a lot of pots. So this was against someone I'd played with quite a bit too, so they knew I was capable of putting moves. But no, I check raise my nutted hands for sure.
This wouldn't be a bad spot to check raise against a good player because you're repping basically nothing, and so they're going to come over the top of you a lot of times with nothing. And so I would actually like a check raise here better with a 7, because right now you're repping so thin, like he knows you don't have pocket kings or even ace king for that matter. It's a 7 or nothing.
Right. So, thanks for helping with my bet sizing there, Carlos, rather than questioning my
raise size would be 0. How about that?
He bets 1,300 and I raised to 2,900. And he goes, this is one of those things I'd like to say, I did not have this was just check raising out of boredom pretty much. But he starts taking a long time, and I kind of feel like he's going to raise. I don't know if we want to jump ahead. So anyways, he does pop it to 5,400, I believe, after quite a bit. And anyways, this is just how my decision-making process. I'm like, there's no hand he's raising there with, was my reaction. Ace King, he's gonna just either let me bluff off or control the size of the pot. Aces, he's not raising. I mean, I think jacks or queens, he just calls and sees what I do on the turn. It's not impossible that he has a 7 and hoping I have a king. But basically, I thought that he was reading me just as Carlos did. I had crap, and he was going to, call me out on it. So did you? I mean, I like my hand analysis here, anyways. That there was just, I was thinking about it. Rather than just sitting there, just watching TV in the corner, I liked how I was really concentrating and thinking, well, if he raises here, what does he have? Which is, of course, he thought the same thing about me too. So, anyways, he raises to 5,400, and then I take some time. I take 20 seconds or so, and then I repop it to 9,600.
Nice.
And I get the fold.
Wow.
So no, that's he probably. I mean, he probably at the end still knew I had nothing, but it was. I mean, do you think he's ever re-raising with Ace King or Kings there to see where he's at and he's going to fold because he puts me on a 7? I mean, I wouldn't, but I don't know what his.
No, his raise is full of shit. Also, and so, if your intention when you raise the flop was to basically bet to 3-bet, then like you did, then it makes sense because when he raises that flop, there's no hand he's raising that flop with for value. He just feels like you're full of shit, and he's going to try to blow you off. And so, in fact, he really should not raise you unless he was planning on coming over the top of your 3-bet.
Right. Or my 4-bet. The 9,600 was a 4-bet. So, yeah, he would have had to 5-bet post-flop he would have had to shove, though. So his stack, I thought, was kind of handcuffed, too.
Yeah.
If we each had 100 bigs, if he's real, high level wizard stuff, he might even flat my 4-bet and say, go ahead, take a shot at it on the turn if you want to really,
yeah. If I'm in his shoes, I'm more, if I don't have anything, which he probably doesn't, I'm more likely to call your raise on the flop and maybe check raise you on the turn. That, to me, that's more credible than raising this flop.
Right.
I mean, when he raises his flop, you read him perfectly. You know he just didn't have anything. And that's the beauty of having a big stack because you could put his tournament life at risk. He can't put yours at risk. So, yeah, he fucked with the wrong rampage this day.
Okay, anyways, like I said, it would be one thing if, like Carlos said, I had a plan from the beginning. Where if I check raise and he re-raises, he never has anything, and I can repop it with only putting certain number of chips in. But that didn't happen. I just check raise, I'm going to steal it, and then I kind of started piecing it together and saying, well, hold on a second, why the hell would he raise here? So
right.
Some hands kind of play themselves like that. You kind of have to. You just feel like I just have to call here, or I just have to raise here, and then I'll see what he does, and then I'll go from there. And maybe it's not the ideal way to play it. I mean, they do say you're supposed to have a plan the whole time, but I play
a lot of times I don't. Well, I always like a hand where there's always a hand at least every tournament, regardless of how I play, where there's a hand I win where I'm like, you know what, I would not have won that hand a year ago. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm getting better at poker. I saw something I probably wouldn't have seen a year ago. I don't know. So, anyways, I thought that was one that I liked how I played. Anyways.
Yeah, that's cool. Took it down with Jack High.
And okay, one more?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. And so this is, I believe, this is the last level of the night. And like I said, I had gotten up to 115K, but then opened a couple times. I value owned myself once by betting on a river with Queen Jack, with a queen on board. With a jack on board. The guy had ace jack, and I lost a chunk. And then I shoved small blind versus big blind. I had 6-7, and this guy had 9 bigs. And I don't know if that's technically within the Nash chart, but he had.
Was it suited?
No. And I just thought this guy was really desperately waiting for a hand. So. This tells you it's a good shove, because he looked at the first card, he's like, that one's good. And he looks at the other one, he's like, call. So he had ace jack, so maybe he was another ace jack. Maybe he was gonna fold like a crummy ace, I don't know. But anyways. So I don't know, it should never have a bearing on the hand, but I was kind of in stack preservation mode. Maybe this kind of gives the hand away here a little bit. But I was down to 88K. And, just ticked off how I played a couple hands. And the blinds are 500 and 1,000. And the guy I'm on the button, and the guy on my right, who's really, really good, and we've played quite a bit. I've three bet him 4 or 5 times, and once had to show down 4-10 off. So I 3 bet him out of position and barreled, and it went check. Anyways, he opens to 2,200.
And what's his position?
He's in the cutoff. He's directly to my right.
He's in cutoff, okay.
He opens 2,200, and I have Jack-8 off on the button. And my thinking here is, obviously fold would not be horrible here. he opens very wide, and I try to mix it up, not always just 3-bet. I think the previous, not the previous orbit, but a couple orbits earlier. Well, I've told Steve about this. I think a lot of people just know how to respond to 3-betting pre-flop. You know what I mean? So I like flatting a lot in position and just hopefully trying to outplay him post-flop. And Jack-8 off he's probably opening 75% of hands here. Maybe not that high, but quite a bit. So I flat, obviously. I call. And both blinds fold. And I believe there is now 6,800 in the pot.
What's the flop?
The flop is 8 of spades, 7 of clubs, 5 of clubs.
8 of spades, 7 of clubs, 5 of clubs. Okay.
So I have top pair.
Mm-hmm. And what's he do?
He bets 2,200. He bets just make the same little bet.
Do you have any backdoor outs at this point, Mike?
With the Jack-8, no. Oh no, yeah, I have I believe, no, I do not have a club.
Okay.
I got a backdoor straight draw, I guess, if not 9-10 comes.
Right.
Well, let's see. The debate here is between raising and just calling. Raising might not be bad, just because you can, you probably have the best hand. There's a lot of turn cards that would suck, like a 6 or a 9, another club. But then calling isn't too bad either, because you get him to bet, maybe barrel again when you could have the best hand. I could go either way. I'd probably just call to keep the pot small and let him tool out. What would you guys do?
Yeah, because we have a pair, I think I'm more likely to call. And it sounds like we're calling because we think that this guy, it sounds like we call pre-flop because we think this guy doesn't have much and he's aggressive. So I would just probably call down 3 streets, damn near regardless of the run out.
That's funny. That was my exact, at the time, I said I'm calling him down at the end, even if ace-king comes. The only thing I probably would not be calling is if club came.
Yeah.
Where if there was 4 to a flush, it would have to be, or something, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not calling 2 clubs, so the worst card in the deck right now would be the 6 of clubs. But, anything, the more the, overcards come, I'm definitely calling overcards because those are the cards that people are likely to bet with air.
Yeah, this guy was aggressive. I mean, basically, yeah, he was me. I mean, he'd always stack up and then, but high variance style. He had one bluff which I thought was kind of bad, where somebody bet like 6,000 on a river, and he made it 17K, and the guy called pretty quickly with top pair. But I'm with Carlos here. It's not like we're worried about blowing him off equity. Let's just call and hope he barrels again. Yeah. So that's what I did.
Okay.
And the turn is the 10 of spades.
Perfect card.
Spades. Okay. And what's the pot at this point?
There's 11,200 in the pot.
1,200. Okay. And
he bets 4,300.
Yeah, I don't see any reason not to call, especially with the reasoning from before.
Yep.
This small sizing is standard for him? Probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, to me, he sounds like not that good of a player. Like, this is not a board. Well, I guess his cutoff range is wide, so normally but even still, like, this is not a board that hits a ton of the range of a pre-flop raiser.
Sure.
And so I'm in his shoes, regardless if I have a hand or not, I'm probably not c-betting this board. And if I do c-bet it, I'm not c-betting it like 1/3 pot. So for him to bet flop hand turn 1/3 pot, that's a little curious on such a wet board.
Even if you have a big pair, you'd think either check call or go bigger.
Yeah,
but on the other hand,
check calling, like a pair with the club in it. Like if I got say like kings with the king of clubs, I'm check calling here every time. And if I was going to bet, I wouldn't bet a 3rd pot.
I think the more I think about it, I think the turn bet was I'm like, why so small? Kind of alarmed me a little bit. I'm thinking maybe he has a big hand. I don't know if I was integrating that into all the previous information of his bet sizing, but it did occur to me that if he did for some reason have a pretty big hand, he'd be betting small there. Maybe that's somehow, like I said, the fact that I had just given away 25K in chips, I think plays on this hand. I don't know how much that gives it away, but I was nervous. I was neurotic, I guess. I'm like, well, it's probably still best here, but I'm like, that would. Is he trying to coax a re-raise out of me with that small bet? What's he doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd almost rather he bet like 7K or something. Just
right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he knows that. He also knows that I'm very floaty. So he could have obviously nothing, but just trying to bet small, assuming I'll fold any non-pair hand. But I call.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is, obviously, there's no reason to raise there, right? Raise, call it off. Although we think we're best like 90% of the time. If you shove,
definitely call.
Yeah.
Plus you're improving on the turn.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
So now I have 19,800. And
in the pot.
Yes. And the river is the 7 of diamonds. So the final board is 8, 7, 5, 10, 7. No flush out there. And he has 26,000 in his pot, in his stack, and he takes a little while before saying all in and shoving all his chips in there.
Ooh. How much did he shove? 27?
26K, I think it was. It was over the size of the pot.
Oh man, I don't think you can call that.
I'm calling.
Are you really?
You river the nuts. Like, you basically started this hand thinking that this guy probably has nothing, and on the river, any possible draw bricked out, and the board pad. So, like, do we think he has a 7? Like, there's so few 7s in his range. Yeah, he could have an overpair, but if he does, I almost look at it like this. If he's got an overpair here, this is a cooler. if he's as aggressive as you say he is,
Mm-hmm.
and he has an overpair, and I'm looking at this as a cooler.
I don't think he's shoving an overpair like that, would he? I mean, as sticky as Mike is with that board,
that would be the reason. That would be a reason for him
Right.
to shove the overpair, because he's getting called by any pair is what he has to be thinking here.
Right.
well,
And you don't think there's any 10s in his range either?
is he shoving a 10 there though?
No, I mean, but that's the only thing we really have to worry about, right? So,
I think he's either nutted or he has nothing.
I think he's actually.
Exactly,
I think he's actually
Right.
shoving every single hand he has now, whether because he's caught, whether it's a one pair, a set, or air. That was my thinking there. I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, what is he not?
That's true. Then he's a better player than I thought. But I think the average player is going to have a polarized range on this river, which makes it easier to call. If you got a player that you know is a known bluffer and he has a polarized range, then that means he's bluffing more times than not in this spot. But if he has a depolarized range and he's willing to like shove here with like jacks or something, it makes it harder to play against. Even if he's a known bluffer.
Right.
So that would kind of give me pause if I feel like he's shoving his full range. I
thought I mean, I called down. I was calling down some bets with second pair. I picked off a couple bluffs, and then of course I had the one hand, like I said, where I called off an over bet. So I kind of leveled myself here. I'm like, is he really shoving here against the one guy who doesn't fold? This is what I was telling myself.
Yeah.
Right. Remind me
like
of
I said, at the time I'm like, he just absolutely has nothing. The overshove always looks suspicious, but then I just started leveling myself. Well, if he's got a straight, he knows that if he bets for small value, it's gonna look like a value bet, but if he shoves, it's gonna look like a bluff, and I'll call him. And I took a long time, and I counted the pot out, and I took the chips out of my stack, and I'm like, well, I can call this off, and man, I still got 55K or whatever it was, 50K. I still got 50 big blinds. And to his credit, he looked totally poised. I mean, I sat there and it did not have his pulse throbbing or anything. And well, you obviously know what happens here. I fold and he flips over the queen nine. Nothing. He had nothing. And I wish that was the last hand of the night so I could have gotten out of there, but I had to sit there for 40 more minutes squirming in my chair. I was so ticked off because, if I just went with my read, like I said, what Carlos said right away, this is a guy who's just right on the flop. It should be, okay, I'm going with this hand. Whether it's third pair or top pair almost doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's basically the perfect run out.
Right. That was the thing that would, like the whole time I'm thinking, if this board pairs, if this club draw breaks out, I'm calling. Like, that was my thinking the whole time. Now, again, you did kind of worry me a bit when you said that he would do that with his entire range. That makes me not hate the fold. But if he is the type of person that would not shove that river with ace-10 or pocket jacks, then I definitely would call. But if he's shoving all that stuff, man, I don't really hate the fold. Because it makes sense what you said about, he knows you don't fold. And why would he, not shove if he had kings here versus somebody that doesn't fold? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm better in not, it's not like I look nervous on the turn calling or anything.
Right.
I was still 95% sure. So it's not like he got a physical read off me. Oh, he doesn't, and it's not like this is just leveling out of my pot. Like there have been few pots. Like I said, me and him were just like he was opening every cutoff, every button, and we were just getting into a lot. And there were times where he would double barrel and I'd fold because I'd obviously floated with nothing. And it just got me thinking, is he going 3 streets against me here, who's, I'd even say it's really just, a standard basic call, really, especially with my stack. I mean, I was using my stack preservation as an excuse not to call, where it's like, again, that shouldn't really be part of the decision making. But like I said, if I was at my high water mark of chips, I snap call him there. I thought this was instructive, where things are in the decision making process, which should not be, because
he started the pot with what, 33K?
Yeah, I think 33, 34K, something like that. Okay,
so look, you guys can help me out, because this is an article that I'm working on. So this is like
cool,
exclusive.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Because I haven't heard or read this anywhere else in the poker literature that's out there. What do you think about the idea of calling this river, knowing that if you lose, you still have a great chance of getting those tips back because you have position on this guy? I'm writing an article now where I'm thinking about it's better to lose close spots like this against guys on your right versus guys on your left, because the guys on your right, not only do you have access to those tips based on your position, they're in the worst possible position to use those tips against you in the future. Like if you're in this hand against the guy on your immediate left, I think not doubling him up makes more sense, because you're not going to be able to get those tips because you're out of position, and he's going to be able to use those tips against you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought about that, I gotta say. I think, for this particular hand, it's just that did not cross my mind. It was just like, I'm like, it's pricey. I mean, I could use these chips for other things, you know what I mean? For 3-betting, for other, more profitable ways, perhaps. But pretty much it was just fear. You know what I mean? This was, so I wanted to show the best hand that I played of the night and the worst hand, and this was, I thought the worst hand, because like Carlos said, he didn't have to think too long about it. He says, I'm calling. Because I think this is pretty standard, pretty easy call against this villain.
Right, but for future reference, do you think that's valid, that it makes sense to think to yourself, okay, I call here, if I lose, I still have chips, and I still have this spew on my right, so I could easily get those tips back later? Do you think that, because I don't know, like I'm basically just making this shit up, and I want to ask other good players to see if it makes sense. Like, I don't,
it's never easy to get chips back later.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my first,
Well, he just basically tried to give you a stack in this hand.
Right, well, yeah, that's true.
I should say it's easier to get chips from guys on your right versus guys on your left.
Sure.
I know I'm always happy when chips move from my left to my right. When there's 2 all-ins, I'm rooting for the guy on my right, you know?
Yeah, that's part of the article too. I'm the same way. I kind of look at the guy on my right as kind of like my partner. And he's just holding some of my chips until I decide to take them from it.
Exactly. I don't know how much of an argument there is for, like you have a borderline call here. Now, at some point you got to say, okay, well, if it's the guy on my right and I'm in this spot, I'm going to call, and then the guy on my left, if I'm in the same exact spot, I'm going to fold. I don't know, a part of me kind of feels like you're in the moment right now, here in this hand, what's the best decision now, and maybe letting that influence you is, I don't know, I think kind of splitting hairs there. But there may be some validity to that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep asking around.
Speaking of stacks on your right, I couldn't help looking right away. I'm like, I wouldn't mind if I take those 44,000 chips now and put them over to my stack. And that guy just had a ridiculous run at the end of the night. Ace king, blah blah blah. So I think he was the table chip leader at the end of the night. And I don't know. I mean, whatever. It's just a bad.
I don't know that you can beat yourself up about this one too much, Mike. Carlos, he called it right. He said, yeah, I'm calling. On this one, I think he's nutted or he has nothing. And
well, if you break it down that way, then you got to call for someone who's opening so wide.
Right.
But you say he doesn't have any 10s or 7s. Like, if he's opening wide, he does have a fair amount of that in his range, too.
I just don't think he's shoving with a 10 there on the river. Or a better 8. Or jacks, or maybe he would with jacks or queens. But see, you looking at this board, 8, 7, 5, 10, 7. I mean, that kind of smacks your range for just calling on the button.
See, but
so
yeah.
Here's the thing. Like,
neither of us have ranges here.
Good players know that when you just call flop, pre-flop, flop, and turn on such a wet board, they know you have one pair. And so, that's why a lot of people will bluff in this spot, but it's almost like good players will, merge, basically make the same bet with their bluffs and their value hands for the same reason. And what happens there is that if they're bluffing, a lot of times you're going to fold the one pair hand. And if you want a hero call, then a lot of times you're going to value cut yourself with something like jacks when they have something like jacks. So I agree with Mike, the call is harder if you think he's good enough to shove full range. But if in your mind you're thinking it's nuts or nothing, you definitely have to call because it's mostly nothing.
That's
right.
a good point.
Yeah, like I said, I just leveled myself out of the pot, and after I called the turn, I'm like, well, he's betting the river his full range here. But like when it bet the river, I was thinking he was going to like 11 or 12K. You know what I mean? Like I was ready to snap off whatever river bet he made. So then when he shoved, I'm like, that's a lot of fucking chips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I only got 8,000 in the pot, which is not insignificant, but yeah, anyways, I just that hand obviously bugged the hell out of me.
Do you think he's good enough to shove that river with jacks?
Yeah, I think so.
In that case, you probably made a good fold, man.
Yeah. Yeah, if he's shoving there with like ace 10, if he's shoving with jacks, queens, kings, aces, if you think he's doing that, then I think it's a good fold.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're describing him as a spew. I thought he was pretty good. I don't know, but maybe I'm just anyone who's always more aggressive than me. I'm like, oh, this guy's good. It doesn't mean that he's making good post flop decisions or good at hand reading or picking his spots well necessarily. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting with these deeper structures, though. I mean, if I want to just go to like what Carlos was talking about, having the chips on your right, and be just like a general, which is I was thinking about this yesterday. It's like right out of the gate. I don't know if you saw the tweet Gavin Griffin put out. It's like, nice table you got there. Because literally I'm looking around the room and I don't recognize like half the people. And on my right are three guys who are like well-known poker players. There's Kelly Minkin and there's Aaron Massey and there's Ray Hinson. So, but anyways, right out of the gate, there's lots of 3-betting going on. 3 and 4 betting. And like, I don't know. I mean, for a while there, especially when I was going down, I'm like, I did not have rebuy money for this thing. Right. So I just thought it was like one of my first hands, I had ace queen, just how would you adjust to the overall game if this is how it's playing? I had ace queen, off under the gun, and somebody, called from like, hijack, and then Kelly Minkin, who was on I guess I was UTG1, she was on the button and she raised pretty big. And I just called. I mean, you can't start 4-betting ace queen early, right? I mean, that's just too out of position.
Wait, so you opened ace queen early position, hijack called,
and then she was on the button. She might have been in the small blind. I'm trying to remember. And she 3-bet, and it was pretty big sizing, 4.5x or something. If I remember. Oh. And I'm like, well, I can't fold, I can't raise, I don't want to get it in this early, obviously, we're 150 big blinds. So I just call, and then the other person calls, and the flop is 4-4-6. Kelly bets, I fold, the other person calls. It got to the river, there was like a 7 on the river, and Kelly won the pot with 5-7. So I'm saying it's this kind of the guy on my right was doing that. Aaron, in the young age. So basically, I ended up chipping up. Where basically, you got to tighten your range and just. Within the first 3 hours, I must have 6 times got pairs where it was you got 3-bet or whatever. I think I had pocket 5s 4 times and never hit a set, and then pocket deuces and pocket 9s, and I wasn't winning any of these pots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, I was stealing some pots here too. I wasn't totally fish passive. But and then of course I got the big hand with the set over set, and then I started getting hands and becoming once I have this chips, then I can be more aggressive. But it could have been one of those days if I never got hands and I just slowly chipped down waiting for, I would have felt sick leaving there. What the hell was I doing?
Yeah.
I don't know, just if you guys have any general thoughts on that. I know Carlos is the same as me. Early in tournaments online, I'm usually just flatting most 3-bets and trying to win big, not trying to go out of control. But, the antes come quick online. The stacks start getting more shallow, and right away I feel just more comfortable with the 50 big blind stack. You know what I mean?
Right.
And at a certain level, because if somebody 3-bets me with 5-7 and 40, I'm already probably in the 4-bet mode. Where here, anyways, not that I was playing terrible, but it was just I was this ain't Rampage. I've been sitting here for 5 hours just waiting to get hands or hit really big hands. I was getting, just all sorts of, well, it was interesting. I don't know how you generally react. That was the choice, whether I have to out-aggress all these really aggressive players or just try to kick back and wait for some hands, and, that's what I did. And then once I got the chips, I went the other way.
I usually do that. If they're super aggressive, I play the opposite. I'll tighten up and, try to see some cheap flops if I can with suited connectors or, like that and try to double up that way. But if they're super, super aggressive, I kind of kick back until the table breaks or I start catching hands.
The problem is though, they can just chip you down and just eat away at you.
Well, at some point you got to make a stand.
So even if you get your double, you know what I mean? They can afford it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're good players for a reason, and so I wouldn't, get into a pissing contest with them. But I think I kind of like Steve's strategy. Is just, because the main thing is that they're aggressive, and so I want to get, hands that I can kind of give them some rope with. Yeah. I don't want to try to out-aggress them. Because like you said, hell, they probably got 3-4 bullets. So maybe she's not worried about, 5-bet shoving with 7-5 suited or something. And so with the ace queen hand, I definitely wouldn't 4-bet. I think I like the way you played that.
But I was definitely out of my comfort zone there when it was when it was just kind of, position was Carlos, it was always everything, but the better the players are, it really is. Because I'd much rather have flatted, Jack 7 on the button against an early position opener than open pocket eights. Where, where it's always going to be one flatter or one 3-bet, and I'm not, there's always going to be one over or 2, and they're going to double barrel even when I call on the Jack deuce board, and so, anyways, it's, you gotta adjust to the play and, can handle it.
When do you go back for, day 2 on Monday?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Ah, okay, cool. You got some time.
What should I do in preparation here?
You're kind of breaking up. I would say, you got Sunday today.
I was gonna say, I can't miss the Sunday grind.
No, I'm grinding as soon as we're done with this. What, are you guys grinding today or?
I am, but that's because I don't have a WPT Main to play tomorrow.
What about you, KK?
Probably going to be grinding. Try to maybe get some tickets going. Can't grind the whole day. Actually, I have my fantasy football draft later on tonight. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I got mine on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, and I got the third pick, and my best friend's being a punk and not wanting to tell me who he's going first overall with. So I'm kind of standing in the wind, and I'm and he goes, well, it might be running back, and I'm Might is a big word, buddy.
Yeah.
So I don't really, kind of got that to dwell over with.
Right on. Cool.
Pretty soon, Steve, we're going to have me and Carlos at the same table. I mean, the tournaments aren't that big, and Carlos, we're not going to all bump into each other.
I know.
And Carlos did it a couple times just the last few days, so.
I was playing with Doug yesterday. Not at a final, but he and I played a couple of pots together, I think. That was fun.
Well, boys, I'm sorry for, but it worked well. We got Charles here.
Yeah,
you have like the bat phone set up for the Nip Cave where there's like a flashing red light in there.
Yeah.
Well, Heads Up Poker Podcast is calling.
It worked out good. Thank you for coming on, Carlos.
No problem, man. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Did you want to plug your Twitch and what are your followers up to now?
We just hit 400 today, which was my goal for the first month.
Congrats.
And so, thank you. And so next month we will be on the road, and hopefully that'll help to get the numbers even higher. But I think that's a pretty solid first month.
Yeah, no kidding. That's good. Right on.
Any other plans to play live anytime soon, guys?
Well, I'm going to do the WSOP circuit stop in West Palm Beach in about 3 weeks.
Nice.
And then from there I'll be traveling, from stop to stop.
Yeah. Actually, I think I'm going to play at the Commerce. I don't know. Are you going to play up at that series, Mike?
Yeah, I'll have to look at the schedule. I had like 4 of those tournaments this, pretty much, every 1K or higher, and then if there's another tournament, like a big game, together those two. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to play, Friday at the Commerce. There's a 350, tournament. They've got 2 flights that day. I think there's 4 flights for this tournament. It's like a 200K or 100K guaranteed. I'm going to play at the 1 p.m. on, Friday the 4th at, the Commerce, so that should be fun. And then the second day will be on Sunday the 6th. So if I go deep on the 4th, then I'll be playing the 6th as well. So hopefully that one. And then there's another one on the 12th I think I'm going to play. It's 175.
Carlos, thanks again. Carlos was very generous to try to help me set up my Twitch here. I want to thank him again.
No problem.
Although he was dealing with a technical idiot, he had to show me like basic, We'll just forget that happened.
I felt like I was working with the crazy Brazilian lady to help her get a Twitch set up, especially when Mike told me he didn't know how to cut and paste.
Oh, man. Ouch.
Hey, man. Awesome. You just sign up for the senior event, Mike.
I can paste and cut. The other ones around is confusing. No, I know how to do it on my Mac. This computer has nothing but poker on, so that's my excuse there. But it was pretty lame.
Yeah, I would be pretty much in trouble if I ever had to use a Mac, so I understand.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, that Twitch just looks fun more than anything else. So yeah, I want to figure it out. Right after I become a WPT champ, I can actually someone to take care of all that for me.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll put a link for your Twitch in the show notes, Carlos.
Thank you.
And,
okay, thanks for coming on, man. I'm sorry I was not here from the beginning.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, you guys.
And you can follow us on Facebook, Heads Up Poker Podcast, Twitter, @HUP Podcast, @Mike Snyderman, and check out our blog, headsuppokerpodcast.blogspot.com. Oh, and you can email us if you're interested in coaching, headsuppokerpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in, and here is your weekly motivational speech.
With a real Eric Thomas, please stand up. Stop being this high school dropout. Stop giving up. Stop sleeping on the street. Stop walking up and down Finkel Avenue like you ain't got nothing, and get your GED. Stop being afraid to take a test. Stop being afraid to go to college because your daddy didn't go and your mama didn't go. Stop being afraid and be the best Eric Thomas you can be. But listen to me, it's going to be hard. It took me 12 years to get a 4-year degree, but I got it. And guess what? On a degree, it don't have dates. So if it took you 4 and it took me 12, it don't show up nowhere. But I'm exactly where I wanted to be because I realized I got to commit my very being to this thing. I gotta breathe it, I gotta eat it, I gotta sleep it. And until you get there, you'll never be successful in life. But once you get there, I guarantee you, the world is yours. So work hard and you can have whatever it is you want. It will